This episode of what we're calling this show again?
Oh, Mark. It's called Urgent Exit Required.
Thank you. Sorry. This episode of Urgent Exit Required is dedicated to farmers,
Farmers.
particularly the Scottish farmers that insist on bringing in British summertime each summer. Thus meaning that because the clocks went back last night, or went forward, whichever way around.
They went forward.
Means that we're recording this an hour earlier body clock time than it actually is.
Yeah, but still, lose an hour.
Yeah, but it also means it's 9 o'clock body time rather than 10 o'clock.
Oh, yeah, I was thinking, actually, I was feeling, a little bit more sparky than we were last week. Having said that, this week we weren't joined by the third member of our crew, so we didn't have to watch Line of Duty with the subtitles on whilst holding an infant.
Let's not curse it. There's still
I
time.
know there's still time. Wow, what an episode.
They fit about probably 4 episodes of plot into that episode.
I think this is classic Line of Duty episode tonight.
So last week I was a little bit disappointed by the lack of sort of explosive action, whereas this week we have just got plot after plot after plot, and it was perfect, exactly what this needed, just to proper kick
All
this
the
season
way
into gear.
through, we were like making I was going to say making eyes at each other, but we've been married a while now. But like
There was some of that in the episode.
Yeah, there was plenty of that in the episode. But we were proper like, yeah, and we were calling out the lines, and there was the Line of Duty bingo was being ticked off all the way, but not in a cliched way. Because I think we've still got a difference in the characters that we're looking at. I didn't feel like it was revisiting things in a sort of stereotypical or cliched way. I felt it was hitting beats, but like in a Line of Duty way that we all love, but with a different plot and different context.
Absolutely. So, wanted to address some feedback that we got from last week's episode.
Yeah.
From friend of the show, Neil.
Hi, Neil.
So I think our gimmick on this is that we will get stuff wrong. We
Totally.
will leave stuff out. So
Yes.
this is what happens when you just record it straight after. So Neil dropped us some feedback. And Neil has only just caught up on Line of Duty, so has marathon through all the seasons in the past couple of months, despite me mentioning 6 years ago that this is a show you should be watching.
But this is the best thing, isn't it? Because people who have watched it recently will have that memory, whereas I really can't remember. I can remember big bits.
Yeah.
Like my love for Lindsay Denton knows no end, but I can't remember the precise moments. So remind us what Neil told in a feature that we're going to call What We Got Wrong Last Week.
Mistakes we knew we were making.
Remind us what Neil has told us.
Terry first appeared in season 1.
So Terry, who we talked about last week, has been like he'd been in the show before, but we
Yeah.
hadn't realised he'd been in it since the beginning.
Yeah. Buckles actually first appeared in season 1.
I can't believe that. I want to go back and have a look. I knew him, but I didn't think I knew him from this show.
Yeah.
But it makes sense.
Yeah. Terry's freezer being used to store the body happens in season 1.
Yeah, I knew that.
I didn't. I remember it being mentioned last season, but...
I remember the whole freezer thing from season 1.
And then Neil said, you do see the keychain. Camera focuses on it.
This is a keychain that Joe Davison... Is it Davison? Is that a surname?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But Joe, Kenny MacDonald, she comes out of Farida's house and she has a whole bunch of keys. Now, I totally agree that you do see the keychain. We do look at it. But there's no way that you saw the giant key that she uses to, like, lock her many locks in her house.
It's not like the janitor's keychain that she would undoubtedly would have having
No,
that.
it wasn't like she had all of her, a bit of a car, a bit of a top lock, a bit of a Yale, and then you've got this absolute massive cake. There wasn't that, so yeah. Okay, I take that one, Neil, but not the whole thing.
Yeah. So, just going to go through some notes on the episode.
Yes.
Literally made these as we're watching it. So
Yeah. You made a lot of notes.
because there's so much happened. Like, the plot did not stop in this.
But then we'll just chat away
Yeah.
and give our instant reaction.
So it starts off showing that Gail Vella has been reporting on previous cases by AC-12.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this video of her reporting on them was actually released as part of like an ARG, like an alternative reality game, I think that is.
I'm so glad you explained what an ARG was.
I think it's the thing that I first saw with Lost used to do it in between seasons. But in the preview, the magazine of Gail Vella had a QR code on it, and if you followed that and then followed the clues, you ended up on the iPlayer with an unlisted video. with Ted Hastings ringing you to congratulate you.
Amazing.
I mean, it is the most wooden acting that Adrian Dunbar's ever done.
It's proper like, hello, I'm not going to do the accent, but
Yeah.
hello, it's Hastings here, you know, like, as in the battle.
I want you on my team because I
like getting bent copper. Yeah, all of that,
Yeah.
It was great.
It's a lot of fun. If you want to follow it through, just a shout out to a Twitter user who busted this open weeks ago.
Yeah, because everyone else sort of caught onto it quite late on, and then you went back.
This was in all the papers midweek.
Yeah.
Like, oh, people have spotted something in Line of Duty. Not mentioning it was in the preview, because we physically fast forwarded and rewound through the episode trying to find it. But a Twitter user at Portia Porcupine, all one word, has some really, really good tweets on this. So I'd recommend going to check her out. It was...
She did it weeks ago,
Yeah.
like ages ago, and no one picked up on it. And other people are like congratulating themselves for getting it, and she did it ages ago. So well done.
So anyway, there is a raid on Operation Lighthouse. Steve and Chloe assemble their Justice League to go and set up the raid.
Topical mention. Well done.
But are denied because Kate has given Joe a nudge and they have done policey things to get a counter something.
Yeah, the DCC, is that the Deputy Chief Constable?
For plot reasons, the
has
raid
done
was...
something
Yeah.
that means that they've got a bit of a reprieve, because I think she said, oh, we've got a leak. We've clearly got a leak. Joe said this. And then she's been to the DCC to try and get some sort of moratorium. She uses the word moratorium, which is
Yes.
a legal thing, which is a stoppage on other things happening. And then you see the DCC, don't you? And the police and crime commissioner.
Yes.
Talking about maybe making this investigation into just a review rather than looking for, in inverted commas, bent coppers. Can we pause at this point to chat about Kate and her betrayal?
Do you think it is a betrayal?
I don't know. And I think that's what's so great about this programme, is the entire time I'm thinking, there's more to this. Like, why would Kate do that? Why would she betray Steve when they've clearly got, like, we'll talk about the underpass in a bit, I'm sure, but they've clearly got this great relationship. Every time they're on the screen together, they just, they completely buzz off each other, I think, those two actors. And it just doesn't seem, something doesn't seem right. I know Hastings has like washed his hands of her and he's like, oh, she's a treasonous and off she goes and we're not going to look out for her, but something doesn't seem right with Kate, and I'm hoping it's not like a character, like mismovement, that's not a word, but that they've switched their character, because this just doesn't feel right for Kate. Unless they're going to make out...
I think it's a double cross. Yeah.
But I was going to say, unless they're going to make out that, which has always been the way, that Kate has actually been a rotten egg from the beginning. And this is building up to the reveal of that.
I'm more likely to think that she is working with Ted in the background.
I think so, and they just haven't told Steve.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Steve, who's now a DI.
Yes, temporarily.
Nice to see.
Yeah.
Oh, he deserves it.
I think both you and I were like, oh. Yeah. And then when Chloe then calls him Sarge by accident, and then was like, oh, sir. So, yeah, it was nice to see him being called sir.
So, Cal Banks, who is the person whose DNA was also in the flat heavily, is killed. There is a murder weapon at the scene, and Farida has been moved on from the team.
She's asked, hasn't she? She asked for a transfer.
Yeah, and at this point we meet her replacement, who
dun, dun, dun.
heavily foreshadowed in the previously on Line of Duty.
I wish they hadn't done that.
Yeah, but Ryan, the kid from the OCG last season and riding about on a bike in season 1.
In season 1, yeah.
See, Neil, we do remember that.
Yeah, Neil.
Is now on the team, working with Joe and Kate.
Which I'm a little bit surprised about, because I know last time in the sort of I'm going to say, a lot of Justice League mentions today, but the epilogue.
Yes.
From last season, you see him sort of at his passing out parade, isn't it, at the police college?
Yes.
Get that right? So you see him, but I didn't think he would be inserted into the action quite so much. I thought it would be a long burner and maybe he'd turn up in a couple of seasons down the line, or not at all, you know. But I like that he's in there now. I think it's brilliant that that actor as a child, had this, and now is seeing it all the way through. It must be amazing to be in that show from that time, and to work with all those people, and to be a key, proper key role in this show. So Ryan's on the team.
Ryan's on the team. Ted meets with John Corbett's widow. And she mentions something about the HMRC.
He mentions what?
She mentions something about the HMRC.
Does she?
Yeah, it's like you overhear it as she meets with him in the reception.
Oh, all right, okay.
Okay.
I didn't hear that at all.
I swear it happened, but yeah.
I know she's got a new telly.
Well,
and it's got all the sports channels.
From
apparently.
the epilogue of last season, we know that, it is indicated that Ted left a large stash of money that was never recovered, left it with her. And then Steve goes to visit her, and we get a nice plot point where Steve questions whether she can afford BT Sports.
I know this is going to sound really bad, but if I had that money, I would have done something to the kitchen. That probably would have been my first port of call. I know that sounds terrible. We're renovating our house at the moment, so I'm really into interior design, and I just want to rip out everything. So as soon as I see other people's houses, I just want to go, I'll change that kitchen and have a nice island.
I'd have the big telly and BT Sports.
Yeah, I know you would.
And during this episode, love is in the air.
Oh, for so many people, apart from Farida.
Yeah, well, Farida...
Poor Farida.
Farida is now wearing a hoodie and standing around the corner staring at Joe Davidson.
Yeah, a bit weird.
But Kate and Joe have a bit of a flair.
Yeah, I know. And some blokes, because they go out for some drinks, don't they? And some blokes at the table next door try and buy them some drinks. And I'd so like to do this in my youth. I would have loved to have been able to people who were pestering you, just get your police card out and not even look them in the eye. Just put the police card out and be like, leave us alone.
I'd quite like someone to buy me a drink.
Well, it's true. I mean, nowadays, anything goes really, doesn't it, for us.
Yeah, and they have a little bit of a moment where Kate's saying, I've not got the kids this weekend, so do you fancy coming round? And...
See, are you seeing that as very flirtatious? Are you seeing it as her trying to get Joe on board in terms of a relationship? Did you read it that way?
Yes, that's exactly how I read it.
I wasn't sure I read it that way. I thought it was more of a friendship.
Well, there was a lingering touch of the hand last episode, which they showed on the previously on.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure, but yeah.
Yeah, I just don't know. I can't read it. I'm really interested to see where that storyline goes.
I can tell you where it's going to go, but yeah. And then Stephen, John Corbett's widow. I really do need to learn her name by next week.
Yeah. Is it? Oh, I wanted to say Sinead, but I think I've just pulled that out of the air. Or Siobhan, possibly. Anyway, move on. Yes, I think that's really. Although I think that's really nice, but she's had a tough time with John Corbett being the undercover officer and all the secrets. And Steve is not in a good place at the moment.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, he's made DI, temporary DI, but he's got an addiction to painkillers, and it's really significant. You can see him getting in the car and you see the stress building, and much like someone with addiction problems with alcohol or other things, you can see him reaching for the item that is going to give him relief. And you straight away, as soon as he got in the car, I thought, he's going to have to take some pills. You can see it building in his body. Great acting by Martin Compston.
Steph Corbett.
That's it. Siobhan, Sinead, Steph. Got there in the end.
We then go into a Line of Duty favourite, the lengthy interrogation scene.
So good. But usually something that you get much later on down the line.
Absolutely.
So I was a little bit taken aback by it.
This is normally episode 5, episode 6 thing.
Yeah.
In this, we see Chloe, Ted, and Steve interrogating Joe along with her police representative.
I tell you what, Chloe is so efficient. I think she's really been underplayed. I mean, I know we're only 2 episodes in, but we don't really know anything about Chloe other than she is really good at her job.
I really like her, which makes me think she's dead by episode 4.
Oh, I know, that's what I was thinking. Out the window.
Yeah.
There she goes.
There she goes again. There is evidence to show that the Chiz killed Carl Banks. there is also evidence that there were leaks of information from investigations. So Joe is arrested. I think that's pretty much everything that happens there.
I think it is. I appreciated this scene because I was getting quite confused.
Yeah.
I got really confused with episode 1, but I thought most of that was to do with the fact that I had someone, sort of wailing in my ear.
Yeah.
And, it was an unsettled episode 1 for us because of the circumstances of small child getting up. But I've been thinking about it all week and still not quite getting my head around what was happening, which I love. I love Line of Duty for that. I like being challenged.
Yeah.
But I really appreciated the fact that Ted was taking me through step by step how everything, who the people were. And I wonder whether that's why that scene was put in there, to sort of bring it all together. Because otherwise, what are you going to do? Are you going to have Joe and the others all in the room where you're getting people saying the wrong thing because they might be baddies? You need someone to lay everything out as AC-12 are seeing it. And that's what we got in this scene. So I was breathing a bit of a sigh of relief because I thought, at least I kind of get who the people are, why they're worried about her, why they think there's a gross misconduct. And it also gave you an opportunity to see what she's like, which you always get, don't you, in the interrogation scenes, is where you really get to see into the eyes of the police officer they're investigating.
It takes you back to Lindsay Denton, where she was matching Ted and Steve word for word, and coming back at them, challenging them.
I don't think Joe's as good as Denton.
No, Lindsay Denton's the first person to utter, "I reserve the right to be interviewed by a police officer at least one rank senior," which is just Line of Duty folklore now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, she's arrested, and as she's arrested, she says, well, you should be investigating Buckles, you should be investigating Farida. These are the other people that certainly could have had that information.
But doesn't mention Fleming.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Telling you, something's happening there.
Something's going on there, because she lists so many people. It wasn't just saying Farida and Buckles. It was Buckles, other people, some other names that I didn't quite... Fake Dot probably was in there.
Fake Dot, yeah.
All of that. So we still need to find out what he's called.
It's Lomax. I think it's Chris Lomax.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as she said, wait, and you got this, I knew that one of those people would have something. And of course, if you tie it all together, of course she was living with Farida.
Yeah.
She could dump anything in that house, couldn't she? Could hide anything away.
Awesome exchange between Buckles and Steve as he's coming to tell them.
Amazing. If we hadn't already sort of called this urgent exit required, I might have changed it to Jazz Mags, which was one of the greatest lines. When you find me, Jazz Mags. It's just so old-fashioned, wasn't it?
To knock one out.
It's juvenile, but it's really good fun.
Yeah. Especially because Buckles is that sort of bumbling.
Oh, he totally would say that as well. It's really true to him as a character.
Yeah. So Bernard phones are found at Farida's house, and she is
Lots of them.
interrogated and arrested. Yeah, God, it's like Cat Laros in there, isn't
Wasn't it?
Joe's released, is picked up by Ryan, which I thought that single title card of Kelly MacDonald's name might end up being erased from next week.
Oh, did you think Ryan was going to do something?
I thought that might be it.
Oh, wow.
But he apparently dropped her off at a car because she later drove to a car park where a big bearded man left a package which contained a burner phone.
Yeah.
And my notes say she doesn't seem pleased. Either that, or we can't hear "In the Air Tonight" coming on the radio because she's doing the drumming on the.
Oh, she really does go for it. I did wonder whether it was a bit over the top when she starts sort of bashing the window. I could get your typical thing of when you're really angry, so you hit the steering wheel in front of you.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole sort of drumming on the windows.
She's drumming on the windows. She's drumming on the windscreen.
Up at the old mirror.
She's checking her face. She'll have to readjust that mirror. There's no way that's staying lined up.
Yeah, I suppose it is meant to show you. I suppose for me, I'm going to go back to Lindsay Denton again. But Lindsay Denton was so in control, but then sometimes sort of lost it a little bit behind the scenes. But mainly I think Joe. I'm pleased they're making Joe different from her, because I think she does have something of the Dentons about her.
Yeah, she's going to hook up with a different member of AC-12.
Well, yeah. But I think there's much more vulnerability in Jo, in that I think she's got into something so far over her head, or there's something else going on, isn't it, with her mother and the photograph. You know, if you're really angry at someone so much that you throw a glass at a picture of them and you, why then have a picture of them and you in your... Something just didn't seem right there. Something was going on. I know some people were saying that they thought that the picture of the mum was Anne-Marie Corbett, who was John Corbett's mum, who Ted had an affair with, or we were led to believe last series. But it didn't spring to mind.
God, I forgot all about that.
Yeah. And Ted hanging out with Sinead Steph.
Yes.
Yeah, John Corbett's wife. Something about him potentially being his son, and I don't know whether they're going to go back over that again.
Do you reckon he's paying them a Virgin Media bill?
What do you mean?
So that she can get Champions League?
Oh, sorry. Oh, God.
Sorry, you failed to understand the reference. Yeah. Because it comes in the package, you see, which BT Sport does when you get the highest package of Virgin Media.
See, if only she'd said that.
Yeah.
No, little conversation
I'm on the
with
VIP
Steve.
package.
So it's always really cheap.
I get my broadband. I get calls all day and at weekends.
And I get 3 minutes.
Yeah, 3 minutes. They also send me a SIM card. You can't tell that we're looking at rearranging our media setups, can you?
Oh, what a great episode.
What a great episode. Made even better by an appearance of Amanda the Techie.
Oh, God. And that's the other reason why I love this show, is you get these people coming back. Some of them we can't remember, obviously.
Yeah.
But some that you just know they've been in it before, and they're going to tell you about what someone's been doing on the internet.
Yeah, Amanda the Techie,
really
one of my all-time favourite secondary characters in this. There was a mention to a podcast in this.
Yes.
Because when they're investigating Gail Vella and looking at her history, they go to her editor, who mentions she'd been working on a podcast. And is this a real BBC podcast?
So I think what they were saying was that she'd heard the Daniel Morgan podcast. Daniel Morgan was murdered in a car park. He was an investigator. I don't know if he was an investigative reporter or if he was like a private detective. I think
private
it was
investigator is how he's listed
that.
online.
But yeah, he was found murdered in a car park, and there was a huge conspiracy surrounding his death, and his family has been working for so long to try and piece the pieces together. They've tracked down police officers who were involved in the case, who, some have come forward and said these things went missing. Some have been accused, and they've even, I think, they got it in front of, Theresa May, perhaps after the podcast came out, where it got really big ratings.
Wow.
It was really, really taken. I listened to it, because I said to you, God, I've listened to that podcast. I've listened to it. And then there was a documentary, I think on Channel 4, I could be wrong, a little while after that. So it was the podcast, so it was a little bit like, do you remember when Serial came out?
I remember it well.
And they looked into the Adnan Syed case.
Yes.
It was coming off the back of that, and it really, really got picked up, and it got a lot of people interested. And I had never heard of the murder before, but then became acutely aware of what was going on. This is another example of Line of Duty taking something from real life. You've got, they absolutely bring up the horrific Ghost of Savile.
Yes.
In this, as they have done in previous series, even going to the extent of photoshopping him into photographs with
the
people,
former chief inspector, who
I wasn't quite sure what to make of that at the time, but I see where they're going with it.
I thought it was brilliant at the time, but I can see why people would find that problematic.
Yeah, I think it's quite a difficult thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you're watching a fictional show and then reality comes in, but it's doing the same thing here. One of the things that I think is really good to come out of the mention of Daniel Morgan is that people will then go back and look at that podcast and listen to it, and it'll get more attention. And I'm thinking that's maybe what Jed Mercurio wants to happen with this.
Absolutely. So I've just looked it up. The podcast's called Untold.
That's it. Yes.
Yeah. I think they've also done something on the Stephen Lawrence inquiry. I think that might be season 2, but certainly there's been a season on Stephen Lawrence and season on this.
There's also, and we did talk about this last week, but there's also a very clear reference to Jill Dando, the murder of Jill Dando.
Absolutely.
And I should have mentioned this last week because it was just in my head the whole time. The idea that they've picked up someone who they think is a crazed fan, in inverted commas. The whole idea of the gunshot residue, which was a major part of the case against Barry Bulsara, or Barry George, as I think he says the two names, because it was changed by Depot, wasn't it, at one point? You can see there's so much of real life coming in there. Really, really interesting. Because I didn't see that happening when we first, found this show at series 1. I didn't anticipate that would be, that real life would be coming into it quite so much.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's... I really like it when they do this. I know that, like I said, people have found this problematic, but this is what separates this from the 100 other investigation shows that are going on.
I think at the end of last week, I came out of it thinking, great, Line of Duty's back, and I'm excited to see next week's episode, but I wasn't doing that thing of, oh, it's Wednesday, it's halfway through the week. Now I think after tonight's episode, it's really like, it's a proper cooking on gas, isn't it? And
all right, Ted.
I didn't mean to do one, but yeah, I really feel like we're into the heart of it now, and we can see that Joe is clearly compromised. We can see that Farida might be a little bit crazed and stalkery, but might also be taken advantage of. I think she's a really complicated character, because I do think that she's emotionally unstable.
Yeah.
And probably, standing on street corners watching her ex is not good. I think we now know Joe has left these burner phones in the house. That's clear. She's
we think that's what's happened.
Oh, well, she goes and picks another one up on the, as the
Jen
last
Mercurio is
line.
very, very...
Yeah, I know.
One thing I would say is... I prefer the chase of knowing whether someone's compromised rather than
finding out early.
Having it released this early. Okay. Yeah. I think that was the thing with John Corbett, why I really enjoyed that, because we didn't know just how into the OCG was. The same with, mention it for the 14th time in this podcast, but Lindsay Denton, we didn't know just how... Yeah. I'm careful. Right, I'm the one who does the hyperbole.
Sorry, go on.
It's no Baby Yoda. But yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed to find she is at least somewhat integrated with that, and at least somewhat compromised.
I suppose the question is now why she got involved. She's clearly upset about it. She doesn't want to do it. She's frustrated that this has happened to her, and we know there's all sorts of backstory, and that'll be the thing. I wonder whether something else is going to happen. I'm really interested in what's going to happen with Fleming. So that, I think, is another line of duty. And they even got the
name of the title of the show in. Yeah.
So I think there's more to it than just the Joe incident, and you've got all this backstory with Ted and John Corbett's wife, Steve and John Corbett's wife, the addiction to the painkiller. So you've got all of that in the background. So I don't think it's just about Joe now. You've got Joe as the sort of the central figure, but we kind of know sort of what's going on there. I think there's everything else to go around the side. Yeah. Anyway, great episode. Can't wait till next week,
where we will be remembering the short career of Chloe, probably.
Oh, I know, poor Chloe.
I really hope she survives.
Yeah, no, so do I.
Feel bad now.
I know.
So thanks a lot for listening, everyone. We really enjoy doing this. It's really nice just to sort of look each other in the eye and talk about all our theories like out loud, rather than just sort of discussing it over like getting ready for bed and stuff like that, or tidying the kitchen. But yeah, we really appreciate you listening, because we really are working hard to get this out as quick as possible after. If you want to give us a follow on our social medias, we are on Twitter and Instagram as The Honeymoon Pod. And if you want to give us a review on any of the podcast apps that you use, please do so. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, it'd be brilliant. Thank you very much.
And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Although I think we're going to get out a main podcast this week, aren't we?
Oh yeah, we're going to step aside from Urgent Exit Required and actually do another podcast, like the main show as we call it.
Yes.
So yeah, we're going to talk about what we've been watching other than Line of Duty, and we're going to try and do that tomorrow night.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, hopefully.
Right then, we'll see you later.
See you later.
Bye.